Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking a lot about Xbox, but also just the state of this industry. And if I sound extra frustrated, it's because I actually am. I need to vent some hate because it just feels like right now the state of gaming in general, but especially with Xbox and Game Pass and stuff, I hate the fact that every game just seems to fail. Even if it sells a bunch, even if it gets crazy Metacritic, even if it just is the hottest game on the planet like Oblivion Remastered, they just fired a bunch of the people that made Oblivion Remastered. You know, the best game of the year. I am frustrated because I do feel like this problem is all encompassing. We're going to talk about this from a bunch of different angles, but also just the fact that it turns out that a lot of people have been lying. A lot of Xbox YouTubers, a lot of journalists and stuff. It sounds like the firings last week at Xbox are actually a lot worse than they originally let on. It sounds like everything from Perfect Dark to Project Blackbird to maybe stuff involving Forza or Fallout, everything is just dead. But let me talk. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I have to admit that these constant waves of layoff have permanently changed how I look at projects, how I look at games, how I look at hype. Because when you see stuff like this now, I can't help but think, okay, how many of these studios are even going to exist here next year? How many of these games? Indiana Jones seems like it was at least slightly popular, and yet nobody's talking about it. I do think there's a good chance that's going to die. They just fired a bunch of people that work at Call of Duty. Call of Duty's probably going to be dead soon. These companies are just waiting to be gutted. Now, this isn't specifically a Microsoft problem. We're going to talk about PlayStation here in a bit, but I do feel like now, whenever I see a far-off release date, I think, okay, if I already haven't seen gameplay, if I haven't played a demo, if this doesn't have a set-in-stone release date, like a lot of these games do, it's hard for me to even believe it exists. It's still wild. Perfect Dark getting canceled. Everwild getting canceled. So many games that easily would have been not just selling Xboxes, but getting people to actually talk about Xbox in a positive light. Sorry, not instantly profitable. You have to die. Ghost of Yotei looks fantastic, but I'm almost even afraid about the fact that PlayStation's definitely been doing this big push towards live service, and even they seem to sort of try to be figuring out, okay, how can we make games infinitely profitable forever, which just can't happen. This to me seems impossible. So the people that actually helped with Oblivion Remastered, that did a lot of the work. Right now it sounds like, obviously, Bethesda themselves, they're very full force on, I don't know, probably making the PlayStation port of Starfield, maybe more Starfield DLC, and it sounds like they're full force working completely on whatever Elder Scrolls 6 turns out to be. Hopefully, fingers crossed, sounds like that's going to come out at some point, unless Todd Howard retires and they just can the game, but the people that did a lot of the heavy lifting was Virtuos. Virtuos works on a bunch of different projects worldwide. They got all sorts of different studios, sub-studios and stuff. They're also working on the Metal Gear Solid Delta. Apparently, they made the game, and they all just got fired. There's a long series of tweets in French basically saying, hey, yep, everybody in Europe, we've all just been laid off. Now, this to me, some people are trying to say, oh, this isn't technically related to Xbox. It's a separate studio. It's not really under the Xbox umbrella. To me, this is what I call downstream business, where it's obvious that Virtuos was probably expecting to get a bunch of work from Microsoft, and for whatever reason, this game didn't sell enough, or they just didn't hit their sales metrics internally. They're saying, okay, we're not remastering anything else, even though there's talks that they were trying to do maybe some sort of remasters, something like, I don't know, Fallout 3. Maybe they're saying, oh, sorry, Virtuos, no, we can't afford it anymore. Even though we make trillions of dollars, we don't want your help, even though you clearly know what the hell you're doing. Firing Virtuos is such a baffling decision because they're amazing. Oblivion Remaster is perfect. I will still die on that hill. This game is perfect, and yet you're firing everybody. And it's called downstream in the fact that, to make an analogy, I used to be in the book business for a long time, and we had a company that worked only with our company, or almost exclusively with our company, that sold bookmarks. They had a big warehouse, they printed all these bookmarks, they sent it to all our stores, right? Well, as our business started doing worse, as people started buying books less, we started ordering less of those bookmarks and they ended up having to shut down. It's the way it goes, right? Hey, if you're our exclusive supplier, if you're our exclusive distributor, if you're the person that's paying us money, we exist as long as you exist. If you stop paying us, we go instant bankrupt. I think that's the way it's happening with a lot of this stuff, where it's, all right, we are paying you to make Fallout 3 Anniversary is what the rumor the project's going to be. There's rumors they're trying to do a Fallout New Vegas remake. I think there was a 90% chance that's what Virtuos would have been working on next, and now they're just fired. Sorry, even though the game was popular and great and fantastic and everybody bought it. It was the top selling game on PlayStation 5, and Xbox and PC. Sorry, you're just not profitable enough. Get the hell out. Now, I wanted to keep just going with this because I've seen a lot of people talking about the fact that this is sort of the state of the industry right now. Everything is dying. Xbox is dying. PlayStation's in a very strange spot where we're getting almost no first-party PlayStation games. I know we talked about Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Yotei looks fantastic, but why did it take so long to reveal it? Why did it take so long to show it off? What's the next game after Ghost of Yotei? We legitimately have no idea. It's probably something from somebody. It's probably that Venom spinoff game that's rumored. But the fact that people are making videos like this, and I do have to say, I do think it's funny. A lot of people in the comments are saying, DreamcastGuy style video, DreamcastGuy style video. I appreciate that. But the fact that people can make a whole series of videos breaking down how much the industry is imploding, and especially Xbox, to me, that seems like such a death knell that's starting to just freak me out. Even this. Right now, you may not know this, they launched the next major Destiny 2 expansion today. Did you know? I didn't know. They didn't advertise it very much. They didn't fund it very much, it seems like. And the game is just dead. The lowest day one peak player count on Steam ever. Less than a third of what Lightfall did in the final shape. Meaning that they have had a 2/3 decrease in player base from one expansion to the next. This to me shows the fact that PlayStation is probably panicking right now. PlayStation is probably tearing out their hair freaking out about this. Because these companies now, I do feel like they're always trying to find a way to mathematically make art. And that to me does feel wrong and weird, but also back in the day when games were cheaper, you could make them faster with smaller teams. That made not just better games in a lot of ways, but also it made it where things hit profit margins way, way quicker. If you make a game for $10 million, you only got to sell a couple 100,000 copies and you break even. Whereas now that games cost hundreds of millions of dollars, if you don't sell tens of millions of copies of that game, you're screwed. Your company's screwed. Your console's screwed. I mean, Game Pass has dug a hole of teaching its audience not to buy games, and they're not really going to recover. I saw this super long thread from this guy who's worked at a bunch of different industry stuff, and he basically was talking about the fact that, look, man, this is how it's going. This is basic economics. This is just how people look at charts now. How much does it cost to make games? How much does it cost to create content? Okay, is all content created equal? Because to the companies, it's just profit. Okay, how much profit do we make cranking up crappy AI art? Okay, we make this amount of billions. How much do we make pumping up Game Pass? Oh, this amount. Okay, well then just make more of the crappy AI art. This does not mean that games are going to go away in the same way that movies and television did not go away with the advent of YouTube. But we're fighting for a time. Time does not increase. TikTok increasingly taking up time that once belonged to the more casual play. Hardcore players are aging out. Young players are drawn to stuff like Roblox. The problem is that Microsoft, facing in 2025, Phil Spencer is staring down the barrel of an industry that's changed drastically since he greenlit the Perfect Dark reboot. It's changed drastically even in the few years since the case of them acquiring Activision Blizzard. The symptoms are becoming clear. I think it's this, but I do think it's also that in a lot of ways, people miss that spark of originality. When I see GIFs like this, random stuff on the timeline, look, you can see, I don't follow this account. I have no idea what this game is. A narrative FPS adventure about a woman stranded in a parallel dimension by Bleak Mill Games. Okay, what is this? This tweet is blowing up. This has 400 likes almost in 2 hours. This gets people excited. Even if you don't know what the hell this is, it's like, okay, that's interesting, that's different, that's dynamic. It seems cool to see whatever the hell this is. I keep thinking about the fact that, honestly, the industry itself feels like it's scrambling to chase Hollywood, while Hollywood is chasing Netflix, and Netflix is basically chasing TikTok. We have this Ouroboros of everybody trying to basically play tag with a snake eating its own tail. Even this, there have been a lot of people lying. I mean, maybe they're not doing it knowingly, but there has been this headline making the rounds on Reddit, a lot of websites and stuff writing about this. ZeniMax Online developer has been laid off. No ZeniMax Online developer has been laid off following the cancellation of Project Blackbird, which was apparently going to be a very big MMO that was about 80% done, hundreds of millions of dollars going down the drain. Turns out Project Blackbird and everybody that worked on it is employed currently because the union is negotiating their severance packages. All of them are losing their job. It just hasn't formally happened yet. Every game is dead. Every piece of art is dead. Every piece of innovation, of creativity, of spark, it's dead. Good games, bad games. Crazy success, painful plummets. Everything just feels like it's a profit point on a chart. And I'm not sure what the answer to this is. I've seen a lot of people saying that the rise to free-to-play is the primary person to blame for this. Games like Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, Roblox, stuff that you can play for free that has optional cosmetics. I've seen a lot of people saying, and I kind of want to make a separate video about this, we've trained audiences not to care about their products, not to care about, I bought this, I beat this, I want to platinum this, it's got this great story, I want to go meet the actors that are in it at a convention, I want to get the figurines. People now just think of gaming the way they think of TikTok, a thing to casually consume instead of forcibly interacting with. This death of the industry, treating it just like YouTube videos and not as this grand, expensive piece of art, I'm not sure what the conclusion of it is, but I do feel like we are definitely deep in the Shire at this point. We are deep in the mud about whatever this is going to be, and I'm very scared about if anything's going to survive. I don't know. These are some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you feel about the state of Xbox and just gaming in general? I mean, the fact that you can make a game like Oblivion Remastered that's just perfect and you still get fired, demoralizing, doesn't even begin to cover it. But thanks for watching. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.